That's for sure. Don't say that to Brian.
Just
Good.
when she has things figured out and she's talking about stepping away.
Yeah. Good evening, and welcome to the Papillion La Vista Community Schools Board of Education meeting for November 24th, 2025. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Miss Wood? Here. Mr. Bailey?
Here.
Miss Butler?
Here.
Mr. Madler?
Here.
Miss Witt?
Yes, here.
I will make a motion that we excuse Mr. Lotus from this evening's meeting.
I can second that.
Thank you. I have a motion by Ms. Wood and a second by Mr. Bailey. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Miss Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Madler?
Yes.
Miss Witt?
Yes.
Miss Wood?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Moving on to communications. Their first up is our military advisory, Colonel Chad Bacchus. Welcome.
Welcome, Colonel.
All right, President Witt, Dr. Rickley, team, good evening. I'm Colonel Chad Bacchus, the Deputy Wing Commander for Offutt Air Force Base. On behalf of our Wing Commander, Colonel Aaron Gray, and our Mission Support Commander, Colonel Russell, thank you very much for inviting me out tonight. My wife and I, Sarah, we raised our girls here on and off for the last probably 16 years, and they both attended Patriot Elementary School in 2007-8 when it first opened, Liberty, and then my oldest graduated from Papillion South in 2021. So thank you very much for all the support you provide, not only me, but all of the military families that live in and around the Papillion School District here. So the government shutdown is now over, as you all know, the longest in U.S. history. We're back open for business, thank goodness, out at Offutt Air Force Base. It did have some impacts, obviously, for our active duty, but as well as our civilians. So I just want to thank you and your staff for the support you've provided, our families and the children in the schools on and off throughout the last 2 months as this has been ongoing, because we know the impact has been severe for some families more than others, but obviously everyone who is part of the DoD was impacted in some fashion. Impact aid forms, that's another area of interest of ours. We want to ensure that you guys are receiving the federal funds, right, in support of our young men and women and their families that are part of the school district. So the work that you're doing to get those surveys out and then the replies that you get back, I know that sometimes those are a challenge. There's creative ways of doing that, but our team at Offutt is obviously pushing our families to do the same to support that, and in ways that we can hopefully benefit both the school district and the families. The only thing I would ask would be sometimes the question of why are we filling these forms out comes up, really, the why factor, what does it benefit, and trying to articulate to the families the impacts that the money gets to provides the school, but also to the children, the military families' children, is one way I think that would help them understand the idea behind why we do what we do there with respect to impact aid forms. We encourage our military families to reach out to our school liaison. This is one area that is very important to us, is we both have Jenny Miller and Tina Lunderman there at Offutt Air Force Base. They help our families transition both in but as well as out. So families that are inside the school district now, if they have questions and concerns on their next duty assignment, please have them reach out to our school liaison officers who try to do the best they can to provide them a smooth transition both into the school district here as well as outside of Offutt. As families prepare for their next PCS, please encourage them to connect with the school liaisons. It helps facilitate introductions and connections. At the end of the day, it's just smooth transitions for these families who obviously are on the move every 2 to 3, sometimes 4 years. That definitely helps them out using our school liaisons. The last thing I'll say is just a plug. We invite the families and our military families to the Offutt Holiday Tree Lighting Celebration. That is on December 4th at a youth program, which is located just across the street from the Willow Lakes Golf Course. We're going to have a tree lighting. We're going to say a few things there, and then we'll be handing out multiple gifts to all of the children and families who support them on and off throughout the year. That's just one way to show our support. So that's on the Offutt Facebook page. There's a flyer out there for that if they want to see that. Pending any questions, if you have any, that's all I have for this evening's update.
No questions, but I remember when I was young going to, my dad worked for MUD, and we had a children's Christmas pageant or program, and I know that as a child, they will remember that the rest of their lives, so
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I hope that goes well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very
for
much.
coming in.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your service, Colonel. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate your support.
Yep. Thank you for the support.
Next on our agenda is the presentation of the Papillion La Vista Community Schools Middle Schools Transition in and Out of Middle School. Dr. Siri.
Yes, good evening. So we're lucky tonight to have our assistant principals from our 3 middle schools with us. And they are going to talk to you about the transition into middle school and out of middle school. So I will let them introduce themselves, and I'm going to pass my mic over so that they can work between 2 of them. So thank you guys for being here.
Good evening, guys. I'm Trent Lyons, assistant principal at Papillion Middle.
Spencer Choquette, assistant principal at Liberty Middle School.
And I'm Allison Judson. I am the assistant principal at La Vista Middle School.
All right, so middle school. Today we're talking to you about the transition process with middle school. And really, it's because middle school is just a huge time of transition, right? We get the kids for 2 years, 4 semesters, and basically we spend the first semester welcoming them, getting them acclimated, and then the last semester getting them ready for high school and sending them on their way. So we're here to give you an overview of that process tonight, a little bit of the why and the how and what that looks like, and then give you guys a chance to ask us some questions about that as well. So to start off, just like, again, kind of as I gave you there at the beginning, middle school just is a time of transition, right? There's a lot going on. You're coming into middle school, then on to high school. It's a quick turnaround. There's a lot of support that goes into that. There's challenges that students face socially, emotionally, academically, right? There's a lot of just ever-changing in that environment, which is a lot of fun, and I think why we're in that, right? That it's a time of just great support for families. So we're going to give you the nuts and bolts here a little bit. The first thing we're going to touch on is just the communication in all of this and our family communication. Why that is so important during this time. It's because if any of you ever had a middle schooler or remember back to middle school, there's a lot of different emotions that come with that as well. Talking about, okay, well, from the logistics, what does it look like if I've never been in middle school or had a student in middle school to, well, what about if my student has some special needs or special considerations? Parents have anxiety at times about that as well, and not just for the child themselves, but for them, right? They want to know the information and have resources to help support them as well. So the communication in all this is really, really important. We're going to get into, like I said, the nuts and bolts of what that looks like here in Papillion La Vista. But we begin this in the child's 6th grade year and sometimes sooner, and just trying to get them connected to our schools and getting them the information they need, because we know that the communication is really, really important during that time.
So starting at the beginning of 2nd semester of the 6th grade year for those elementary school students, we start reaching out to the elementary school. So we're reaching out to the administrative teams, we're reaching out to the counselors, social workers, special education teachers, just to start preparing for those visits. The first thing that they need to do is they need to get registered for classes, so we need to figure out where to put them. So we reach out, we try to schedule some visits that we're going to talk about here in a moment, and then we have our mass communication system. We start establishing contact with families, just letting them know, hey, we're going to start registering for classes, this is what that might look like. You can go to the next one. And then something pretty cool that we do, we want our students to be involved. We know that the more involved students are, the more connections they feel, the more successful they are. So our band and our choir teachers schedule times before we even go out to have students start registering for classes for them to go and perform, so that we can pique interest in those things, so that we can get students to sign up for those band and choir classes, because we know that those are great activities. So they go out to all the elementary schools, they do a performance. In the spring, something really cool is that some of the bands do like a combined concert. And then those choirs, we really want students to be involved in choir for the school, but then also they have the opportunity to be involved in show choir, which we know is just a great event that, you know, gives them the opportunity to showcase talents and form some really good connections.
Yeah, so after those band and choir visits, then the principals and the grade level counselor go out. We start scheduling the meetings kind of when we come back from winter break. And those take place end of February, first part of March, before spring break. So when we go to those elementaries, our feeders, we're talking just class registration. Everyone's going to get a registration. The required classes, there'll be a list of required ones that they have to take. But then they do have that option to take some, maybe band, a chorus, or an option enrichment class as well. If you'll see on that schedule, math is circled. That is the one class that, as a district, there is some criteria that puts them in the appropriate math course. But it does give them some flexibility. If maybe I want to try band, maybe I want to try chorus, they do have that option. One thing that we, on that visit, and you know, we're talking about this every year, is attendance. Well, now that we have all these 6 feeders or however many feeders were coming to our building, is involvement. We want kids not leaving our building at 3:10. We want them going to a club. We want them going to a sport. So we really stress on those visits is, hey, let's try out for basketball. There's 4 teams. You know, run cross country. There's intramurals. There's a lot of opportunities for kids to get involved. And that's one thing that we really stress out. And in those visits, kids love when we start talking about sports and all the different clubs. I mean, the list is endless. And kids can come up with them on their own. You can really tell their eyes light up and they're like, yes, I can't wait for middle school just to get involved. And then after we do that visit, the kids have about a week to get that registration formed in, and then we kind of get moving based on what they sign up for. So,
talking a little bit now with some of the academic supports, as you were just hearing math placement. That is the one class that it is assigned, and it's very, very well supported by our district. We have great collaboration with both our elementary teachers, the toolbox teams, but we pride ourselves, we're making data-informed decisions. We're not just throwing kids into what they feel like or what they think like. We're looking at a lot of information. We're having communication. And again, the toolbox teams set a lot of that, provide those guidelines for us, and then we're helping educate the families along with the elementary teachers of what that looks like and why we are choosing those pathways that we're setting and some of those pieces in terms of what might be the starting point when you get into middle school. And I think that's really an important piece of some of our communication there, is helping them understand where that's at and what other opportunities are going to come down the road too, because for a lot of these families, it's the first time where you're seeing some decisions that can be made or some options in some of those pieces. The second piece with that is intervention. So again, looking at data, if students are needing extra support or our HAL programs and those pieces, we're taking input on that data. We're collaborating with our elementary schools, and we're starting to collect all of that before those students ever walk in our door, because we want to have plans in place. We want to put them in the right position to succeed. And we talk a lot about what do those look like currently, and then what will those look like when they get there. And again, just lots of data that we look through and lots of meetings, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what some of those collaborative meetings look like as we approach them transitioning into the building.
So like Spencer said, we have a lot of decisions to make after we go out and we do those registration meetings and visits. Then we start reaching out to schedule those meetings with the counseling teams. We like to make data-informed decisions. Elementary schools, a lot of times they have students for 7 years, maybe even more. And so they have a ton of data. And it helps to set students up for success, because that's our main goal. How can we set these students up for success? How can we put them in the best place for them? So we look at a lot of things. We look at prior documentation. We look at 504 plans. Are they EL? Do they have specialized health plans? And then we can collaborate with those teams down at the elementary schools just to kind of figure out, okay, what is the best place for this student? How can we set them up for success in their classes? Do they have an IEP? Let's start talking about case managers and things like that, which actually leads to the next slide. So when it comes to special education collaboration, we can develop individualized transition plans. We collaborate with those elementary school special education teachers and case managers to make sure that we are setting those students up for success. it's definitely a time of anxiety when you have students with disabilities who are transitioning, and we really want to alleviate some of that anxiety, both for the students and for their families. We know that, sometimes there's kind of that grief cycle that goes along with it, and every time there's a transition, we get nervous, and we want our families and our students to feel supported and comfortable. Just really that focus on individualization, right? We can do a lot of really cool things to support students as they're transitioning in, and the more communication between all of the people involved in their team, the better. We can do extra visits, lots of opportunities for them to see the building. A lot of times our 6th or 7th grade teachers will go down and do some observations. There are teams that will bring 6th grade students up just to do some extra tours, so we like to give them lots of opportunities just to see the building, so that transition time is a little bit less scary. Yeah, absolutely. So an IEP is an individualized education plan that comes with direct specialized instruction and an accommodation plan where students are receiving support from a special education teacher / case manager. An IIP means that a student is showing some areas of deficit, whether that be reading, writing, math, behavior, and then we're able to try to put some things into place to kind of close that gap, but it doesn't come with like the accommodation plan and things like that. Now, maybe it could lead to that eventually if the student doesn't show progress, but the IEP is that direct specialized instruction.
Yeah, one of our last transition pieces before we take off for the summer is we bring the 6th graders up. We call it 6th grade move-up day, and it's just a district-wide event that's usually about the first Friday in May. And this is an opportunity where every student that we're going to have in 7th grade gets to tour our building. And it's just fun watching them walk in. They are assigned a letter, and they are intermixed between all the elementaries. They're not sitting with their same kids that they grew up with. It's intermixed. And they get to tour the building. They get to see the classes, what that looks like, meet some of the teachers. And then we have different sessions where we're talking kind of our PBIS building-wide expectations. And just an opportunity for kids to ask questions. And we get a lot of questions on what lunch looks like, because when you get back there, it looks like a huge buffet line. So you get a lot of questions on lunch and different things. So it's good to get them in, and then get a tour of the building, and then after the kids come, then we bring in the parents. And the 6th grade parent night is great because I think it helps alleviate the stress on parents, because the kids are ready. I mean, they're so excited, they're ready to jump in the middle school, and the parents are just so nervous about what this looks like because they've been so in routine of what that elementary building looks like, and now this is secondary, but the secondary experience is completely different. So we have a presentation that our nurse talks, administration, and our counselors. The nurse, it's good to get familiarized with the nurse because there are some required documents that are part of transitioning to the middle school, making sure they get that taken care of, and then just hearing from the building administrators. They meet our SRO, and then any special education teacher is available just to kind of ask questions at the end, but then we kind of cut them loose and let them walk and tour the building, and making sure that they are calm and ready to send their student to middle school.
Another piece that we try to communicate throughout this process, and we're getting ready to talk about them coming into our building shortly, but just the middle school model, right? And what does it look like, and what does it mean to be a middle school? And really there's a few things that we talk about often with that. And the first one being teaming, right? So every middle school has a teaming concept, which is in light, it's a school within a school, right? We create these smaller pockets where these core teachers are going to have a smaller collection of students that they're going to get to know a little bit better. We've hit on it before, and we talked about that involvement. The two strong beliefs there are we want kids to be involved and we want kids to be known. So when you have those smaller teams, you can really have teachers that know the kids and know them well and that they're well connected with, and that involvement also adds to that. A few other things that you can see up there is, we work hard to make sure that we're reviewing all of our data, our transition plans. It's fun because it's a fresh start, right? It's new and exciting. but also we want to make sure that we have enough information to set these students up for success. So balancing that, always want to celebrate the early successes, find some wins for the students within the transition process, things that they're excited about, and then just that continuing academic and social support. That it's such a time of exploration. We want you to get involved. We want you to do things. We want you to fail some, and we want to support you through all of that. So a big concept that we think of often throughout the process and often when they're in our building as well.
Yep, and then kind of that summer transition period right before we kind of get back going, we have what we call early check-in day, and that is kids are excited, and it's the number one thing is to get their schedule, know what team they're on, and see if they're a team with their friends. So it is well attended, but during that early check-in, we hand out schedules. They tour the building. They get to walk their schedule, and we take photos that day. So it's a great opportunity for kids to come in, like I said, get their schedule, work their combination, because that's something that's new. Now, our building was under construction, so students were not able to practice that lock, so that was a little bit of a learning curve when we first started this year, but that is nice that they get to practice the combination, walk their schedule, so when that first day, they're ready to go. We do have some opportunities where maybe at that early check-in day or at another time slot where we bring a group of students in just to meet their teachers and build connection, build rapport. We do a little pizza get together and walk through their schedule and really meet the staff that will be working with them one-on-one on a daily basis.
So then in August, when the school year is getting ready to start, we have the half day for 7th grade only, where 8th graders do not attend. It allows students that opportunity to practice locks, to do things like that, to bring their supplies. We try to make it really fun, like we play music and we give them this big warm welcome to kind of pump them up. Having 8th graders there makes them a little bit nervous, so having that day where they can just get acclimated on their own is really, really nice. We go through a lot of processes and procedures that 8th graders already know. They've been through it, right? But we go through a lot of these procedures. It's good for families, too. They get to learn the pickup and the drop-off routines on that day without, if they have questions, they can ask us. So it just provides that time and space. You'll see the graphic up there. Those are just kind of things that we talk about with them, like how to keep their locker organized, how, what kind of organization system are you going to use? They go from having, one primary classroom to, all of these different classes that they're transitioning to. So how can we help them set themselves up for success with regards to that?
All right, and then once they're in our building, we've passed the first day, and we're trying to get them rolling. We spend a lot of time in that first month just helping support, again, that strong start. We talk about our PBIS expectations. We have handbook talks where we go over a little bit of the do's and don'ts and what are we expecting from our students and how does it look at middle school, and just trying to encourage and reinforce that. The students it's always funny, the 7th graders, right? The first semester versus the second semester, even the first few weeks to the next few weeks as they get more and more comfortable and test the boundaries a little bit more at times. But we do a lot to help them understand those routines and processes. We also have curriculum night, and so we invite, within that first month of school, families back into the building. They get a chance to re-see the school, walk it, talk with some of the teachers, ask some questions about the curriculum. We usually do some breakout sessions. I know a big piece often is like Google Classroom. That's, if they haven't had a student through middle school, that's a big piece that we implement now. And what does that look like? And how do I access grades? And, there's running grades. And so it's just a little bit different in the timing and the accessibility at the middle level. So helping them feel comfortable and confident with that. And then it's just a heavy time of monitoring what's going on, right? If we're having students that are struggling or thriving, either side of that, we want to make sure that we're communicating with the families early on within just check-ins. Sometimes we do meetings early in the year to follow up, and then obviously our newsletters and some of our ongoing digital communication that we have with families as well.
Yeah, so we've 7th grader come in, it's been a great transition, you find your niche, and then we transition right back out. 2 years goes by so fast. It truly goes by really quick. So to the 8th grade, to the 9th grade is a very similar process. The high schools will come down, they'll bring freshmen down to kind of talk about what it looks like at the high schools. And they'll bring staff down and talk during classes and register kind of the same process that we would with the 7th grade. There is what they have is like a freshman orientation class. So students that we recommend that maybe might struggle or may have a difficult transition to the high school, we can offer that next step prep or the freshman success class, and they do get a credit hour for it. That happens over the summer. So it's a great program and a fluid way for some of those kids to help transition that might be a little bit difficult for them. And then one thing that is real nice with the both high schools is they are always coming down, always talking to our kids. We know extracurricular activities are very important to a lot of our students, so bringing coaches down, having the opportunity to play or participate or perform at the auditoriums or the high school stadiums or some of the arenas, we take advantage of. And it just kind of boosts that participation, gets kids excited to represent the high school where they're going to attend. And then, like Ms. Judson had said, we do a combined band concert where we take over one of the gyms at the high school, which is well attended. And it's nice to see kids that we have transitioned and now getting ready and getting excited for high school opportunities and all the activities that they do. So, questions about the transition?
Well, first of all, I think every once in a while I still have a nightmare that I'm at my locker and I cannot remember my combination. So, and I graduated from school back in, so it's been a while. This is probably going to be a loaded question. I'm probably going to get all sorts of frowns from Shireen over here, because, what do you think? Not logistically, because I know it's going to be quite a transition. If we put 3 grades in middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, do you think that would make? I know I told you I'll probably get some people yelling and screaming at me. But the reason I asked is when I was in middle school, we were the second class, and I went in Indiana, so not in the state of Nebraska. We were the second class that transitioned and made it a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade junior high school at that time, of course, middle school. So I just, I don't know if it would make a difference. It just means now you transition 5th graders into 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I didn't know if any of you have any thoughts of that, knowing that, of course, you're going to keep your jobs. Shireen's not going to fire you for saying something you're not going to want to. But just any thoughts on that at all? Well, again, not logistics. Logistically, I get that. I'm thinking more of the transition and how quick it is for those 2 years when you spend kindergarten through 6th grade in one building, real quick 2-year transition, and then 4 years in the next. Any thought about it? If the kids would do any better making it 3 years? Again, I get logistics, and I'm not even going to go there, but yeah.
Yeah, I would say if you put 6th graders in the middle school level, we would handle it the exact same way we're doing right now.
That's kind of what I figured you'd say, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And when you do those visits, it's like, holy cow, that's a big 6th grader. Like
Yeah.
some of them, they've really grown that last semester. So it's interesting, or when you go to those elementary visits and see how big some of those kids are, it's like, wow, some of them look like 8th graders.
Yeah.
And then it's the same conversation when they leave 8th grade. It's like, wow, you're a freshman, sophomore, ready to go. So.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wondered if you had any thoughts on it, so. I'm not looking to change the whole process, just a thought, so relax, I promise.
Wondering where the motion. I appreciate all 3 of you spending the time putting this together and your teams as well at all 3 of the middle schools. I was listening intently as I will be going through this process in about 6 months, so I'll be able to provide hands-on feedback on the process as well. So I look forward to that opportunity. But talking about, I know a lot of the other districts do the 6, 7, 8, and I know that's not part of this conversation. But having a 5th grader and a 6th grader right now, I like how we do it. And for me, it's kids can grow up so quickly once they get to that middle school, junior high level, and keeping them with the younger kids as long as we can, I think has been good for our district. Also, last week we had NASB, which I'm sure we'll talk about in the board comments, but I went to one of the sessions, which was a student listening session. It was 5 high school kids from across the state that came and talked to a room of probably 50, 60, 70 board members. And one of the things that we asked them was, what could the districts have done better that they were in to help with their education? every single one of the top things they said was the transition from middle school or junior high to high school. They felt like that transition period was just, it was a big adjustment for them, and not all of them handled it well, or they had classmates that didn't handle it well. So I appreciate all the attention and the focus that we put on that transition, both going into the middle school and going out of the high school, because it is such a big time of change for those students and the families. So I appreciate what the schools do, and working with the high schools and working with the elementary schools and you guys, and trying to figure out how we can best support those students and the families as they go through those periods to help hopefully set them up as best for success that we can when they get to that next level. So I appreciate all that you guys do in those transitions.
I just want to echo, I know that you put tons of time and energy into it, but I also know you all are being as gifted as you all are, know that your work is well worth it, because if you don't put that time in, the benefits are far worth your efforts. One question I have, what do we do for kids that aren't in our district in elementary and then join us and then, do we have some certain things in place to help the summer programs? I'm sure you try to get them involved, but is there anything else that you do there?
Yeah, I guess I can start and then share. We track that closely, right? And I would say our counselors are such a vital piece of that, right? In helping us identify students that can help those students connect and get acclimated well into the school, right? And so there's a lot of conversations that go, all right, especially, we're a military community, a lot of those families that we see come in, all right, how do we help them? So again, there's a time in the summer where we get a chance to meet with them. We also have, like I said, a small group usually those first few weeks where we intentionally create some lunch groups and some things like that, which is a little different than if they come in the middle of the year. But those are some intentional things that we try to do early in the year of just connecting them with other students within the building, I'd say is one of the primary things.
Yeah, one thing that we do is if a student enrolls before the school year starts, we have what we call a new student pizza party right before the beginning of the school year, because they missed out on all of those opportunities that the students coming from within district had the opportunity to do, like the sixth grade visit day and the registration talks and all of those things. So we invite them in for a pizza party, and then they get to do kind of all those things, a question and answer, a tour of the building and things like that. We do. We have them come in at the beginning, and then we kind of let them go so that the students can explore on their own. But yes, and our counselors, I think, do a really, really nice job of making sure that they meet with those families and explain all of our processes so they don't feel like they're just dumping their kid off in an environment that they have no knowledge of.
And the students that are attending, they do have the opportunity to come into the sixth grade move-up day. Parents just have to get them there. So that's another opportunity that they're able to participate in.
So one of the things you might think about is inviting those 5th and 6th grade teachers up when they have their elementary work days and let them really see what middle school is like. And, I think it would give them such comfort to know what great things that you're doing and to actually see it in action.
I've been through the middle school experience. It's really quite wonderful. It's well-run, and the kids they're just running all over the place, having a good time. So I like what I think middle school's advantage is over all the other grades is your teaming, the way you team and you run your conversations, just to help say this student's having trouble, and the whole team knows what to do then to work with an individual student or a group of students if you need to. So I heard you say IIP. Now, is that a state regulated or federal regulated? Is that our own invention? The IIP, the individualized intervention, I think it is plan, yeah.
Yeah, that's our paperwork, our process for how we track students, and we've really come a long way too in terms of how we communicate that from elementary to middle school, from middle school to high school. So that's our process and our paperwork that helps support the whole framework.
Which I think is fabulous. So.
Rule 10 requires us to have a SAT process, and that's Papillion La Vista's form of it. It's more inclusive, and as Spencer said, we have our own system for paperwork, but it is checking that Rule 10 box. I only have to say that because the audit's coming up.
Yeah,
so.
your audit's coming. Well, thank you. You guys do a great job. Thank you so much.
I just want to chime in too with such an appreciation for these three and their three counterparts behind them. We are unique, to Skip's point, in the sense the kids are transitioning in. And so, kids get a little sense of freedom when they go to middle school, which is a great thing. Sometimes it's not a great thing, but helping kids regulate that and advocate them, and they have to do it fairly quickly because then we got to turn around and push them out and get them ready for high school, where they go from, we're going to give you lots of supports, to, okay, now your credits count, and now you got to make sure you're getting your work done. The one thing I do want to prepare you for, Marcus, is no middle school's trapper keeper looks like that picture on the slide.
Yeah, I think I've got mine from the late 90s that I'll just dust off and hand them.
So, yes.
I just want to thank the three of you. This was an outstanding presentation. Also want to single out Dr. Juracek, Mr. Johnson, Dr. Carson. One of the things that makes this group of six kind of interesting is that at least 4 of the 6, by my count, had experiences at other grade spans. Allison was high school, Spencer was elementary, Dr. Juracek was elementary, Dr. Carson, I believe, has some high school experiences. Tim certainly has experiences, high school science at Papua Vista South. One of the things we talk a lot about as a school district is we want people that want to be at the middle school. It's not a fallback, it's a transition to something else, it's a farm team. What I find interesting about these 6 individuals is that I don't know where their minds were when they started their careers, but I know in conversations one-on-one with all of them is, regardless of whether they started at the middle school or they came in from a different grade span, once they got there, they're like, this is home now. This is where I want to be. And that's really critical because we only have 2 years to make this right by kids. No margin for error. So for the 6 of you, thank you for what you do. We're so very proud of what you do, and it's a critical time for our kids. Well done.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the reports, starting with the superintendent.
Thank you very much, Ms. Witt, members of the board. Happy Monday, everyone. For our audience members that are live, thank you for being with us. For our community members that may be tuning in online, thank you for engaging with your Board of Education and your school district. First and foremost, happy Thanksgiving. We're entering what I believe to be one of the best times of the year. We've got Thanksgiving, and we have all sorts of spiritual holidays, regardless of faith or creed, coming up in the month of December. It's just a really fun time to be an educator. Just want to remind our staff that Wednesday is PD Palooza. We have some professional development going on for our staff. I believe we have over 30 classes that will be taught on Wednesday alone. Students are off, of course. Everybody's off Thursday, Friday. Sincerely hope that our staff, our families, our students, our community members have a safe and blessed holiday. Looks like the weather's going to be a little bit spotty, but that's what we get for living in the Midwest. Speaking of magical time of the year, just as a reminder, we have a football game tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. And we don't usually make a big deal about elevating athletics above other events, but this is a special ball game. Papua Vista South High School will be playing at Memorial Stadium tomorrow. It'll be about 7:15, depending on how previous games go, against Millard South, the juggernaut that is Millard South. So hope to see everybody there. Best of luck to our Titan Nation as they represent the entire community, the entire school district. We couldn't be prouder of their efforts. Hopefully we'll come home with a win. I don't want to talk too much about the NASB conference because I believe we'll be getting some of that from other board members, but every year, the week prior to Thanksgiving week, the Nebraska Association of School Boards hosts its annual conference. Typically, it's at the CHI Center. Previous years, it was at the La Vista Conference Center. It's an outstanding opportunity to network with other superintendents and board members. 3 really solid keynotes that I believe you'll probably hear some highlights from later on, and several breakout sessions that were really, really good. For me, prior to the conference on Wednesday, I had the opportunity to attend the Commissioner's Advisory. Commissioner Maher has a small group of superintendents he meets with quarterly, so we were able to get that crossed off the list. And I also participate on the NJUMP Board of Directors that looks at natural gas prices. That may sound bone dry, But as we look at how the markets move, depending on everything from geopolitics to the situation in the Ukraine and just the ebbs and flows of energy values based on supply, it's fascinating stuff to a former government and history teacher. So maybe I'm in the minority, but I thought it was good fun. Also want to thank Monica Thompson and the new Lincoln View community. We also had board members attend. On November 13th, we held a community event at our soon-to-be 17th elementary building, Lincoln View Elementary. It will open up this fall. I thought Monica Thompson did a wonderful job of representing the new community. We did some team building. I bet we had 200 people there. Maybe more. Ms. Wood, thank you for being there. We open up our doors and our community responds. One of the things that makes this such a special community. So very proud. Most importantly, though, besides a little bit of team building and some informational sharing, we did unveil the mascot, and it is, drum roll please, it is the leopards. With some really cool, some nifty colors. So really excited about opening up that building. And before I conclude, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I received a note today. I think I put this in my board report, but I think this illustrates a little bit about what makes this community so special. I'm going to leave out some names here because I didn't ask the family's permission, but we had a really special event last Friday that I think really says a whole lot about the team and the people and the community we have here. Dr. Rickley, thank you for helping us pull off a graduation ceremony for Ryan. You and Mr. Ryan, that's Jason Ryan, principal at Monarch High, made it possible for my mom to share a milestone we weren't sure she would get to witness. Our family will always remember that gift. Mom was on hospice care and wasn't sure she'd make it to graduation. What Papillion La Vista Community Schools is a true example of PLCS in the community at its best. People stepping up for another with generosity, heart, and genuine care. We're grateful. This was a Monarch family, longtime Monarch family, and this individual had worked in our schools. Without giving too much away, this family had given a scholarship. This is a community that bleeds Monarch Maroon and was deeply grateful. Jason Ryan, what he did, he didn't have to do that. He did it. Pretty irregular, but he did it anyway, and I can promise you it made an impact on that individual, her family, this graduate, and everybody that was in that room with us. So just really kind of a heartwarming way to end the week for me, and really proud. I don't know if you're watching, Jason, but thanks for what you do to represent the Monarch Nation. And with that, Ms. Witt, I'll conclude my superintendent comments.
It's a good reason for Thanksgiving, isn't it?
Amen to that.
Next, we have school board member reports. Who wants to talk about NASB first?
I can go. This is a little longer because I also had the liaison lunch at Monarchs with Mr. Ryan and the staff up at the high school. This was a little different. We met with 10 to 12 of the head coaches at the high school. So a little different than meeting with staff from some of the different departments and talking about more like in classroom. But it was great to hear from them just on the facilities. Also got a tour of the new room that we have up there. I think it's opening, this week officially. It was pretty close when I saw it, but it looks like a great space. It'll be great for our students and our athletes to use. Talked through the facilities and also just had more general conversations on how youth sports has changed so much over the years. It's just the amount of time and energy and money in youth sports is it's blown up, and how the district and how our schools are adapting and how we can further adapt. Also talked through the struggles with the transfer policies at the NSAA level and what that is doing at the high school level with creating mega teams at some schools for individual sports, and potential options that NSAA has. Now, I did go to then an NSAA session at the NASB conference last week about their transfer rules, and they don't seem to have many great options on how to fix. When you're a state that prioritizes open enrollment and students that can transfer from one district to another, how does NSAA limit, how do they control transfers for sports reasons? They can't. So how do we adjust, and what does that look like for sports? So NSAA has some things they're going to try to do scheduling wise to make sure you see fewer blowouts, but I think they are also open for feedback if anyone has any ideas on how to limit kind of what we've been seeing these last handful of years with just the number of transfers from schools. Also, for the NASB session, I did sessions on district and board legal liabilities. It's always great to hear, keep up to speed on different lawsuits throughout the country that boards and school districts are dealing with to ensure that we just have an understanding of are we doing anything that would be related, or just getting a sense of kind of what are the lawsuits that are out there that we could potentially just be staying on top of and watching as they go through the court system. And then I also had on the Wednesday before the NASB, we had a 2-hour legislative conference for the legislative committee. In that meeting, we talked through the upcoming session. I think the session starts January 7th. And from what we've seen already from Speaker Arch's schedule, it's going to be a pretty condensed schedule. I don't think they're going to be having many breaks, at least those first 2 months. So I think it's a short session, and I think it's going to go pretty quickly. But talking through the potential bills that we'll see getting pushed and prioritized, the ones we want to start having conversations with the senators. And also, we had the conversation on the Governor's School Finance Review Commission. So I know they've had, I think, 3 meetings now, and their initial report is due on December 1st. So we kind of got a preview of that report from a couple of the commission members and how those conversations are going. I don't know what's going to be fully in the report, and this is just the initial report that goes to the legislature, and then they'll continue to meet, I think monthly, they are meeting. But it was great to hear from those committee members that said those on the committee, no one has an agenda. They're all open to trying to solve the problem. So far, these first 3 months, it's been heavy on gathering data. What do other states do? What does the funding look like historically? Where are we at now? How does it affect all the districts? So right now, it's a lot on the data side, but it's great to hear that no one is coming with an agenda and they feel positive. They don't know if they're going to, it's a difficult problem to solve, but they feel like the people in the room are at least they have the right mindset and are trying to move forward together. So it'll be interesting to see what's in the report and then continuing to watch them as they move forward with their meeting. So I apologize for the length of that, but that was last week.
And it looked to me, I'm loud enough without it. It looked to me like there were about 80 of our 8th grade students that were participating under the leadership of UNO band director, Dr. Kennedy. And I know that a lot of our own district staff members were very involved in that day, preparing those kids and doing breakout sessions. And again, there was a nice turnout of parents to come and watch and be a part of that celebration. And then at the NASB conference, I do think that Nebraska puts on a very nice conference. And they offered some, I heard 3 keynote speakers, one very motivational. I don't think I'll be doing 100 Ironmans in 100 days, but he did.
Start with one. Just
Start with one. I don't think I'll even do that. And then the final speaker was on data privacy, which was very thought-provoking. And then the sessions, the breakouts that I attended, dealt with things from collaboration, building culture, law, hot topics, resources for parents that are not English speakers, as well as teacher burnout. So some nice presenters. And then they do have a section where kids are there showing off some of the things that they're doing in their schools. And I saw a group of young women from Battle Creek in their FFA outfits, and they talked to me about raising Angus cattle. And, you know, right at the school, they have their pens and their cattle, and, you know, so we have kids all over the state doing great things. So that's what I've been up to.
I was not at the state conference, unfortunately. Real quickly, though, I was at my last foundation meeting. That happened, I guess, gosh, when was that? Back on the 17th of November. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, just, you're right, last Monday. Gosh, it seems longer than that. So, yeah, the big thing, of course, takeaway, not the big thing, but the last thing is you were voted in, so you are now good to go. Congratulations, you take over. So I know you know this. They've already contacted you, so that'd be fantastic. And then I had a maybe meeting as well. I was disappointed with the maybe meeting. It seems like, and I'm not sure what to do about it or anything, but the participation is very, very low right now. Only 2 or 3. I think there were 3 of us that were there, you know, and so I think it really, I'm not sure how to get that participation back up, but I think it's a great concept, and I think it needs to continue. So those of us that are there, of course, you know, kind of share everything that's going on in our particular district, and it's good to hear what other districts are dealing with, and you know, and ask questions and everything. So hopefully that'll continue, and we can build that back up and get everybody back together with that. So thank you.
Well, I did go to the conference, but only one day, sadly. I got ill and couldn't attend the second day. But I did on the 13th attend the Monarch Band concert, so I couldn't go to the Liberty View Elementary opening. But they had some really great things that happened at that conference, or at that band show. One of them, they played the service anthem medley, and they turned up the lights in the house so that anyone who was in that particular branch of the service, when they played like the Air Force song, anyone in the Air Force would stand up. And then when they played the Army or the Marines, and they even had the Space Force one. It was really good. And at the end, they had this presentation called Avi's Amazing Adventure, and Catherine Hardgrave wrote the tune for it, and the kids who were in this program drew the artwork for it, and they displayed it on a PowerPoint while they were playing, and it's called a collaboration between the Monarch Bands and the Sing Me a Story Foundation. And it was really, like, heartwarming and wonderful, so I'm glad I was able to go to that, and I'm sorry I missed the Liberty event. Any other comments from the board tonight? Moving on then to our committee reports, starting with Building, Grounds, and Finance.
We have not met since the last meeting.
Human Resources and Student Services.
We have started the negotiation process and have met 3 times, I believe, with the PLEA representatives. And then on November 17th, we had a brief meeting where we talked about some staffing proposals, and Dr. Settles will be discussing that this evening.
Thank you. And Curriculum and Americanism.
Yes, we met last Monday as well, so I guess I had a bunch of meetings last Monday. We had quite a few things we talked about. Really good discussion about the strategic plan and how we got the action teams, and they're up and running. Some of them have already had a number of meetings, and so things are progressing there. They're trying to get trying to have the goals and the action steps, hoping to have those completed by winter break. I know that's coming up quickly, so we'll see if that works. And then talked quite a bit with Christopher about surveys and how they've got a whole plan of aligning those with the strategic plan, which seems like the way they're trying to do the surveys and make them shorter and more pointed to certain areas, I think is a really good idea, and I think it's going to pay huge dividends. We talked about the literacy plan update, how we've got a carryover of some funds from the Learning Community Grant and what we're going to do with those. It sounds like some really good ideas, and try to get some more, some coaching, some more subs, and try to give our staff and our kids the best help that we can moving forward. And then I know you mentioned it before, the wonderful Rule 10 audit that's happening right after Thanksgiving, so I know you're looking forward to that. Looks like the schedule you gave us, very aggressive schedule, so I hope everybody can get to all those. That'll be fantastic. And we talked a little bit about the PE and health, this is going to start in the curriculum toolbox cycle. And, just kind of talked through a little bit of that and how that's going to work as well. And I think, we talked about the personalized PD Palooza that's going on Wednesday with all the teachers able to try to pick up some of their credits during that day. And again, a great schedule. It looked like you all had planned out, so it looks fantastic. All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Our next agenda item is action items. First up is the actions by consent. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the action by consent items as presented.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Madler and a second by Ms., oh my God, I can't remember your last, Butler. I just know you're Eliza. Roll call, please.
Ms. Butler,
Yes.
Mr. Madler.
Yes.
Ms. Witt,
Yes,
Ms. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Bailey.
Yes.
Motion carried.
thank you. Next on the agenda is the HR Subcommittee work on the 2026-27 school calendar. Dr. Settles?
Yes, thank you so much. Just bringing this back to you today. We had done quite a bit of work on it ahead of time, so there were no additional changes or anything brought to us since I last presented it at the last meeting. So what you see is the calendar consisting of 173 days for elementary and 175 days for secondary students. We would start school on August 12th for those K through 7 and have a nice transition day for those 7th graders. I have it up there for you to be able to see. Oh, sorry, a little too far there. There we go. And then our last day of school would be May 21st of 2027. Doesn't even sound possible. We do have a little bit later spring break than typical in there. We also have built in a number of inclement weather days. We have some makeup days planned in there if we should have too many inclement weather days, so that we could have those days made up somewhat during the school year as opposed to absolutely needing to go to after school was out. And then our graduation day is scheduled for May 9th. For our staff, this day does include 187 days shown of their 190 days. And we do that because 3 of the days are reserved for time that they spend in and planning for parent-teacher conferences. So if you do the counting on that, you won't see those 3 days on there. I don't think there's anything else with it.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2026-27 school calendar as presented.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Ms. Wood and a second by Mr. Bailey. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Madler,
Yes.
Ms. Witt,
Yes,
Ms. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Butler.
Yes.
Motion carried.
thank you. Moving on to discussion and information. Our first item is the superintendent's evaluation. The Board of Education must review the superintendent annually according to statute 79-828. And those results have been collected, and I think there's a calendar for us to get together and talk about it, and then bring it back to the board later. Any other comments?
Thank you very much, Ms. Witt. Just as a reminder to our community, the board, as Ms. Witt stated, is statutorily required to evaluate the superintendent once a year. As a matter of practice, we have 2 conversations per year. My goals are adopted, at least 2 conversations per year. My goals are typically adopted in late summer, prior to the start of the school year. We typically do a mid-year update, November, December, and then we typically do an after-action report, typically May and June, kind of reviewing the progress in the year. I did put together a summary of the 5 superintendent goals, including in red a summary of progress made. There's still a lot of work to be done. We're at the midway point in the year, and while I'm very proud of the progress, we are not content with where we are yet. Much work to go. Just briefly, the 5 goals are implement the new district strategic planning process. 2 is develop new communication engagement strategies. 3, focus on enhanced curriculum and instruction strategies. 4, recruitment and retention. And then 5, deals with bond and facility and safety projects. So in red, you're going to see some highlights for each of those 5 goals. Just wanted to put it out there for the community in case we have some community members watching. Those are the 5 goals that we're providing the board an update on, and we will come back in May or June and complete that review and go from there. And with that, Ms. Witt, I would see if there's any questions from the board on our progress or other things yet undone.
Okay, so this was my first evaluation process. So we completed it, and then what's the next step, I guess, after that?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Butler, for the question. So typically, what happens along with the mid-year update is the board fills out an evaluation, a survey instrument, which I think the board wants to review in the off-season. We've had some conversations around that. But it's a standardized instrument. We use it from year to year to year. Once the board has submitted their results, and I think, do we have 5 of the 6 or 6 of the 6? We have all 6. So once those results have been compiled, I don't see them. Those results get compiled by Ms. Scheller. Ms. Scheller shares them with the board president, in this case, Ms. Witt. Ms. Witt sits down with me and goes through the results, and then we share them publicly with the board meeting. So if all goes well with Ms. Witt and I, we could share those results, and it happens in a public setting, at our next board meeting in December. Just as a reminder to the community, why would you evaluate a superintendent halfway through the school year? Why would you not wait until May at the end of the school year? That's to protect the office, it's to protect the district. And what I mean by that is this. If the board decides not to renew my contract, it's better for both parties to know it in December. Why? Because that gives the board a full semester to do a search for a superintendent, and it's better for me, frankly, because if the board decides they want to go a different direction, that gives me time to find a different job. We didn't always do it this way. There was a time where we did my evaluation, the superintendent evaluation, in the summer. But if the board decides that I'm not what you're looking for, that leaves you no margin for error for finding a new superintendent. You're not going to find a superintendent in May or June for the following fall. Thank you for that question, Ms. Butler.
I appreciate you putting the updates together on this, on all these. It's a lot of information, so I know that it can be time-consuming to do it. But I think these updates are great for the board. That we're not there every day. We're not in the weeds as much, so it helps us stay up to date on a lot of it. I had at least one question on the surveys, which probably doesn't surprise you since I'm a data person. This might be a better question for Christopher, because I know we've moved away from the old way we used to survey both the staff and the families. And it says that we've so far done 2 of this planned 7 smaller surveys. Prior, probably in prior years, we would review our yearly survey data in about September or so for the prior year. What's going to be the plan on how best to share the data that we are getting from these surveys with the board?
Yeah, really good question. So, and technically, I didn't know how quickly that second survey would go out. I think it's going out later this week even, Dr. V. It is out. It's in the field. Okay. So I guess it is technically accurate. So we'll do 2 of the surveys. We'll have those complete here shortly. We'll have 7 surveys total. One of the things that we want to do is to share that data back throughout the course of the school year at the subcommittee level, and if the board chooses, at the committee of the whole with the whole board. That's really up to you. As Mr. Madler indicated, the old model was we would get the results in April for the one big end of the year. We would process it internally, we would share it with the principals, and then we'd come back later that fall and then do a pretty big board presentation. And we can still replicate that model. At the end of the day, we want to make sure we're giving you the data you need when you want it. So I think maybe one of the conversations for us to have in subcommittee is, would your expectation be that each of those 7 data collection points that you want a chance to review it, they're only about 5 questions each. So that would be something to consider. Do we want to do that each time we ask 5 questions? Or do we want to wait until we have sufficient number of questions until we start looking at the data? And again, that's a question for the board. I'll do whatever the board wants us to do. But just know that in the next couple of weeks, we'll have 2 of the 7 completed. It would make sense to me to maybe start, if the board wishes, to maybe start breaking that apart in subcommittee before we bring it to the committee of the whole. But at the end of the day, we will do whatever the board asks us to do. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Madler.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So when you say 2 of the 7, so 2 families and a staff, or 1 staff, 1 family? That one?
Dr. V, would you mind approaching the board in case they have some really granular questions? And you are our resident expert, Dr. V.
Yes, so we have a plan for a series of 7 surveys, each being up to 5 questions. The first was general about strategic planning and about the district itself. The following 6 are all tied to one of the 6 action teams for the strategic plan. And so the first of those 6 went out last week. The other 5 will all come out second semester because the action teams develop 3 of the 5 survey items on those surveys. The other 2 survey items on those surveys, we pull historical items, so we continue to have longitudinal data from the previous surveys to ask those same questions again. And every survey goes out to both staff and families and is written in a way that makes it appropriate for both staff and families to respond. And then we separate that data when it comes in.
This may interest you, Mr. Madler, but one of the things, as Dr. Siri indicated, we're trying to have a focus on crafting questions that support what we're trying to accomplish with strategic planning. However, we're also carrying over what I would consider legacy questions from Survey 1. What I would consider a legacy question that was pulled from previous surveys was rate PLCS, right? Give us a letter grade, A, B, C, D, or F. That's a question we've asked at least since I've been here, and it probably predates me for a good long while. It's part of the Gallup survey too, by the way. And in fact, not only did we process those results internally, but we processed them with our classified, our certified advisory, and then we had our student advisory last week, so we spent most of the time saying, do you agree with these survey results, and how would you grade us? So we're trying to use this as an opportunity to not only get our strategic planning process stronger, but we're also trying to honor past survey results by keeping legacy questions and processing those. Dr. V, did I nail it?
Yeah, and I appreciate the time and the effort going in to think through how better to use surveys as a tool to gather, information. We've got thousands of families, 12,000 students, almost getting close to 2,000 staff. So it's a lot of information out there, and I think it's important to try to gather as much as we can. And I understand the importance of trying to ask relevant questions at the time, more timely questions, but I do like having some of the historical questions so you can get a better understanding of what are the trends on those answers. If every survey is just a new batch of questions, you don't really know if things are getting better or worse because you just know at this moment for those specific questions how people are responding. So as a board, it doesn't give us and probably the administration as much of an insight on how things are trending on trying to solve certain problems. So I appreciate both the historical and the new survey format. I'm always open to trying new things. And yeah, as a just personal feedback, I don't think I need as a one board member's feedback, I don't need results every survey, but I think it would be important to share once we do get more information that we feel comfortable sharing.
And just two additional notes for you. One, we did challenge the action teams for the 3 items that they developed to develop at least one longitudinal item for the 5 years of the strategic plan. So it's something that we will ask that's related to the objectives that they're developing, the goal that they're developing for their action team, that we'll ask at periodic intervals over the next 5 years. So we'll be able to see a little bit more targeted whether or not the interventions they put in place for their action area are showing any improvement for us. So we'll have that in addition to the historical items that we've already established. And then the second thing I wanted to share before I sit back down is that we do provide some sort of summary in the Rickley recap of the results of the survey. So one Rickley recap is administering the survey, and then 2 weeks later, we share some sort of summary from the results. It's not all 5 questions, it's not in the weeds, but there's a write-up explaining what some of the higher level results of the survey were, just to try to keep people in the loop about what we're hearing from what they're sharing with us in those survey responses.
I think one of the
Christopher.
things that we talked about. Oh,
Sorry, go ahead. No, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, I think one of the things we talked about in subcommittee is how hard your team is working when you're doing surveys, that many of them. So I think, to your point, in my opinion, is we definitely don't need them to have to put something together for every in every 2 weeks and, and present it. But I do agree that, yeah, after 2 or 3 questions or something, trying to put something together would be good. But I know how busy these surveys are keeping you all as you try this new concept, which I think is a fantastic idea, so.
How have your results been? I mean, the number of people responding has been higher because of the shorter?
Anytime you make a change, there's always hesitancy, I think. And so right now, response rates are lower than I would like. They are lower than the survey that we administered at the end of the 23-24 school year. One of the things that we've talked about quite a bit is that we anticipate fluctuation in the response rates from the surveys based on the interest level in the topic. So the first survey was strategic planning. A lot of people may not see the connection between high-level strategic planning and their student. So engagement rates might be a little bit lower. The current survey is engagement in the community, asking about parents, student, staff, community engagement. So we're hoping that we'll see higher engagement rates with this survey because it is a topic that I think people can more clearly see the connection between what we're asking and how that impacts their students. So we do expect to see fluctuations in response rates. Right now, response rates are a little bit lower than I would like, and we'll work on getting those up over the series of the survey.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the Patriot and Walnut Creek renovations. Mr. Richards.
Thank you, Ms. Witt. Tonight, we want to give you an overview of the Patriot and Walnut Creek renovation projects, and Mr. Greg Steeran from BCDM is here to kind of walk you through that like we've done in the other particular renovation projects. These projects are scheduled to start this spring, be completed by the summer of 2027. Boyd Jones will be handling Patriot and Sampson Walnut Creek, and they're kind of in the middle right now of getting subcontract bids to bring the board for a guaranteed maximum price at a future meeting. So with that, I'll turn it over to Greg here.
Yep. Thank you, Brett, and thank you all for having me here this evening. Yep, thanks. So I'll start with Patriot Elementary here on the site plan. Again, the yellow is some playground surfacing replacement, as well as there's a sidewalk we're adding as an egress out of the art room, and then reworking the sidewalk from the playground out to the parking around the new kitchen addition, and that'll be a little bit longer than what's there now. Make sure that's an ADA accessible slopes and things like that. So the blue that you're seeing is a new kitchen addition, and then the green adjacent to that is kind of reworking what that existing loading dock and ramp are. So relatively light touch on the overall site, but kind of accommodates what you're seeing here on the floor plan. So when we get into the building itself, again, kind of similar to the site plan, that blue is the new kitchen addition. The green adjacent to that is kind of reworking of that ramp and loading dock area. Then other areas of heavier renovation, if you will, are in green, where we're kind of flip-flopping the learning center and the administration so that we can connect in a security vestibule. You can kind of lock down, make sure that they're forced to go through the administration suite before getting into the school itself. And so those are areas of heavier renovation. Light is labeled, or yellow is labeled light renovation, but there's actually a decent amount of work that goes along with that as well. It goes from painting the entirety of the interior of the building, flooring throughout, and then ATC ceiling, so the grid ceiling and lighting throughout. That ceiling replacement happens because there's also mechanical work and network wiring, and we get into fire alarm system, intercom replacements, generator, things that don't really show up very well on a plan. But there is a lot of other of that mechanical, electrical work that goes along with that as well. And so when you're tearing up the ceilings to do that work, you get the new ceilings and finishes. And then when we get into the video fly-through of this, taking an opportunity while that work is all going on to really use the the new branding, incorporate the new branding and colors of the school.
See if we can get this.
Let's see, here we go. All
There we
right,
go.
so kind of starting on the exterior of the building here, this is just the
Oh,
kitchen
this is
addition.
Patriot,
Yep.
Oh,
those
right,
are-
okay.
Yep.
Maybe. Let's see.
All right, there we go. Just wanted to see the kitchen again.
There we go.
So back playground area, again, the kitchen addition, just really matching what the existing building is looking like, and reworking of the ramp and loading dock area. You can see that sidewalk coming around there, ADA slopes. One thing to point out here is we're also cutting in a window into the existing wall there off to the right, so that from the new reception desk, you can see out to the front door. Just an added security component. So you're locked into that vestibule and buzzed in here. Some other security features that are really a part of this project are fencing of the perimeter of the site, kind of closing in that playground, and kind of some security films on some of the windows and doors. So really focusing in on that security portion as well. As I mentioned, the school branding and colors as we're doing the kind of mechanical, electrical work throughout, really brightening up this space. As we're walking through here, this is the learning center that had previously been the administrative suite. And then into the media center, really freshening that up again with the school colors and newer LED lighting, trying to emphasize kind of the special nature of that kind of group learning atmosphere. Also kind of using different colors in these nodes to help with students' wayfinding throughout the building. So as we're heading down into the kindergarten classrooms, those younger kids being able to know and have a sense of place with that kind of red color in that corridor. Another one of the security measures is kind of card readers at exterior doors that aren't there now. And then again, opening up from this kind of multi-purpose room, the doors on the left were into that new kitchen. So kind of bringing that kitchen up to the size that you've seen at Rumsey, that are going in at Rumsey, Bell, Portal, Patriot, Walnut are all kind of getting that same layout from that 90s, early 2000s, making that security a big feature and bringing that secured entrance to the front. So kind of moving to Walnut Creek here, it'll be pretty similar, and maybe touching on, Brett touched a little bit on the schedule, but phase construction kind of beginning in May of 26 and completed by August of 27 is what Boyd Jones is planning to do and accomplish there. Here at Walnut Creek, Sampson is the contractor on this one. There are two additions here. So kindergarten addition on the front to be able to kind of accommodate that flip-flop of the administrative suite and learning center. And so with that being two additions instead of one, Sampson does plan on that, some of the work of the addition starting as soon as the ground kind of thaws out in March. But that's really outside of the building, and that's kind of similar to what's happened at some other schools throughout the district. So again, the yellow that you're seeing on the site plan is kind of playground surface replacement, some ADA sidewalks, getting a sidewalk from that new kindergarten out to the front entrance area, and again, kind of reworking that loading dock and ramp. So as we look at the building itself, once we go inside there, similar thought process here. To the additions are in blue, again, adding the kindergarten addition as well as the kitchen here. Reworking the administrative office and learning centers to accommodate that secured front entrance. Really, one of the bigger differences here is maybe just what some of the mechanical systems are that are, one is a heat pump school, the other's not. But kind of same process as we're getting in there and doing that work, refreshing the interior. So everything that you're seeing in yellow is getting the ceilings and lighting and floor and paint in conjunction with new telecom wiring and clocks and intercom and fire alarm. So really just a refresh to the entirety of the building. So if we look at the fly-through video here, I believe this one starts back at the kind of kitchen addition as well. Again, just trying to make sure this blends into the rest of the existing school to try to make it look like it's been there. Same concept here, as you'll see, there was a kindergarten addition to that classroom on the right side there, but we are cutting in a window here as well from a security standpoint. Bless you. All the same, security film, card readers, secured entrance vestibule, bringing it up to that secured standard. So again, looking as we walk into the reception area, they'll be able to see out to the exterior at this point, kind of providing a new workroom in that office suite. Again, getting the new colors and logos and incorporated into that front entrance area, so those kids get that sense of school pride right when they're walking in the doors. Here again is the kind of the new learning center. So off of that space, having the restroom and all the other ancillary amenities to that. As you're seeing those doors there. Media center, again, I'm just trying to kind of highlight that a little bit nicer lighting in that space, just to try to get the kids excited to be in there. And again, using different colors here and different patterns, but same concept of colors for wayfinding. As we go down, this is the kindergarten hallway, but then the other hallways and nodes would have a different color so that, second, third grade know where they're going as well. So again, here this would be the kindergarten classroom that's part of the addition. So a good amount of natural light as we're kind of matching the other classrooms that are there. I want to make sure you see every single wall of this room. Again, you'll see the doors off to the left. That really works for the serving line for the kitchen, being able to come in and out, and then just refreshing the finishes of this room as well. So again, and this is Boyd Jones and Sampson, one on each, and they've been doing a great job on the other projects in the bond. So excited to see what they've got for you on these. So
These are our last two.
Yep.
That we'll be bringing to the board, and then we'll have, of course, the elementary schools. We've still got some things going with the middle schools, but these are our last two we'll start within the 23 bond project. So they'll be done in the summer of 27. We'll be ready to wrap up all these major renovations by next summer, summer of 27.
I have a question. So the kitchen addition, is that for the finishing kitchens? Is that what's being installed?
Yes.
Correct, okay. And then how many elementary schools do not have the finishing kitchen?
I believe this should be the
that's
last
it.
ones that get
The last
that.
ones?
Yep.
Oh, perfect.
Everybody will have a kitchen.
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing that with us, yes.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Love the videos.
Thanks.
Nice haircuts on those kids.
Yeah, there's some good-looking
Yeah.
kids in those videos.
Next on the agenda is a staffing proposal. Dr. Settles.
All right, thanks so much for your attention again. So we have been pretty busy lately trying to take those necessary steps so that we can get going with staffing for next year. So just kind of wanted to go through that with you. First of all, taking a look at student enrollment. I've reported that to you already a couple of times this year. I'll have a more complete report here coming up in December and January, but we went through that, had meetings with every single principal at every level, so kind of understood their needs, what are they anticipating for staff that might be coming and going, and really just tried looking at, we've got some big things ahead in this next year, and let's make sure that we put together a staffing plan that can help us accomplish that in a timely manner, as it does get more and more difficult really to recruit and get those people in the positions in time for school to start. So as Ms. Wood mentioned, we talked about this at one of our recent meetings, and we're set to just share a little bit more with you for this. So first of all, we always do set a goal of just making sure that we're looking at the needs of the district as we make some of those decisions with staffing. Obviously, one of the big undertakings of this next year is opening Lincoln View Elementary, and we know with that comes some asks from you as well as some costs. We also take a real close look at what are the class sizes, and we want to make sure that we're keeping effective class sizes. We know that's been a priority of the board. I hope you hear this when you are out at your liaison lunches and out and about in the community, but that is an appreciated effort for sure. Also, we would like to just be able to open up a new school and make adjustments throughout with as much as possible using the existing staff that we have, knowing that some of the students will be moving around as well. And then obviously always keeping budget in mind and making sure, we know this is the largest item on the budget every single year. And so making sure that we're being as effective as we can with that. So real quick recap from the October 1 official numbers. I know that you heard similar numbers to this as we neared that point, but when all was said and done in October, we were up 51 students, so at 12,120. We know that Prairie Queen will be getting smaller, obviously, with our addition of Lincoln View Elementary. So really, one of the things we always do is just go through and make sure that we're projecting the class sizes and projecting how many sections would be at each school, at each grade level for elementary, and then looking at the overall for middle and high school. What have we added? What have we, where are we going down? What do the classes look like that are coming up? So each of those areas. So for next year, we should see elementary remain pretty steady, a slight decrease at the middle schools as of right now, and then we'll stay steady at the high schools as well. So currently for this year, for 25-26, our class sizes are averaging 19.47 at elementary. Just a touch over 21 at middle school. I think it's 21.12, and then at high school at 22.41. So again, our biggest focus really has been on predicting what needs that we will have with Lincoln View. We're set to open there right now at approximately 229 students. We know this is a very growing area, so that number certainly could go up, but all of the transfer requests in district transfer are completed as far as those that are going to be 5th and 6th graders wanting to stay, and those that are active duty military who were wanting to stay at Prairie Queen. So those requests have already been done. So the numbers you're hearing me say are the numbers with all of that already processed. So with those 229 students, we will plan to open that as a 13-section building. Actually, it's exactly the same as what Prairie Queen was when it opened. It also opened at a 13-section building, and it is larger than Ashbury, as we know that the growth there was not quite as quick as anticipated with some of the other factors of the times. So 10 of those 13 sections at Lincoln View will come from Prairie Queen. Prairie Queen will go down to be 15 sections, so that's a pretty significant amount. And Prairie Queen will be significantly relieved. It'll be right around 300 next year. So we are in a good position to be able to do some shifting, not only there, but also in some other schools to be able to help with some of those needs to open Lincoln View. I mentioned a little bit about the middle and high school numbers and where we're seeing those for next year. We also spent some time looking at special education needs, and I'll share some of those in this next slide. So overall, you can see on here, and I'm sorry about that extra little decimal point, my eye goes right to that. Just wanted you to kind of see the overall look there of what we're looking at. So as I mentioned, we've done all of the roll-ups and the shifting around from schools. We should be okay with a net add right now of 3 elementary classroom teachers. And in addition, at Lincoln View, we know that we're asking you for a principal there. We also know that we'll be looking at adding an instructional coach, a counselor, as well as some specials time. So some of those positions are new: instructional coach, counselor, principal. Some of the specials time is all that you're seeing up there is new, but there are also some additional shifts from some other existing staff. There is also a possibility that some of the specials times might need to be covered by a counselor or instructional coach, so we'll make sure that we get some really good, solid teachers in those positions. So when we anticipate that, what you see up there for those top 5 lines, that is what we believe is the lowest ask that we could have. When we consider special education needs, looking at just to be able to maintain our effective caseloads, and we know that is something that is very special about how special education happens here. We put a large focus on inclusion, and with that comes making sure that we are well staffed. So besides the 2.0 addition for special education teachers, we also currently have, and you might remember this from the last couple of years when we added our own teacher of the deaf. We had a 1.0 teacher of the deaf. Increasing needs, a few years ago, we added another 0.5. So we have one teacher that spends 0.5, teacher of the deaf, 0.5 special education. Our intent would be to add that additional 0.5 and have 2.0 teacher of the deaf. Some of that is due to some of the program changes in how we share currently in that area with Ralston. So growth does hold some possibility next year as we see this is our largest student increase that we've had in the last several years, and that's something we like to see. In particular, I don't think we'll see a growth request from you on this one, but we wanted you to know we are always keeping an eye on Liberty. I think a lot of us thought at this point they might be to the point of needing that additional half team. They're not there yet. They're still planned next year to start in the low 500s. But at some point, they will reach the need for that additional half team. For this coming year, we are monitoring at the high school level. High school is predicted to remain steady but have some growth for next year. So we've got registration in January and February, and we've asked them to try to accomplish the needs that they have with the current staff that they have in place. But we've also asked them to keep us informed if they see needs arise, and that's some of the things that we've brought to you in the past several years as needs have arisen. In particular, we are always mindful of what potential curricular needs might arise with items from the legislature, particularly if those are unfunded mandates, and how we make sure that we're accomplishing that. Our high schools are also putting a great deal of emphasis on rigor and trying to reduce the number of late starts, early releases, and getting students to take advantage of their time to have the classes and have this education. So we're not asking anything for right now, but that is something that we could ask you later on to dip into that growth. Along with this, We will have some additional classified staff. Some of those classified staff will be able to shift from other buildings, but when you open a new school, that does come with needing an administrative assistant, clerical help, a health para, a media para, some of our custodial help, and some of our paras, instructional paras, special education paras, some of that will be able to shift from some other schools too. We don't plan to do any of the classified positions until the springtime, when we get much closer to the end of the year and start looking at letters of intent and things like that. But for these other positions, our hope would be to come answer any questions that you might have between now and the December 8th meeting, I believe it is, and hopefully get some of these positions posted come December 9th. So what questions might you have for me regarding all of that? Lots of information.
Thank you. I know the subcommittee spent a lot of time talking about the staffing needs, and I know that that will affect the budget quite a bit, so we have to be assured that we are able to accommodate our needs in our buildings. Any other questions? Thank you. Next, we're moving on to the review of the Policy 8000. We had a ad hoc committee that worked on the updates of this. They were extensive. I think I'm going to pass this on to Elizabeth to talk about it. Ms. Butler, I'll get your last name.
Thank you, yeah. Yep, so Ms. Witt and I met a couple times and reviewed all policies included in the 8000 series. I think those are what is before you today. It might look extensive, but I would say that it's probably a lot of red because we moved a lot of sections around. We just tried to put like things together. But these are just purely suggestions, and we welcome feedback.
Yes, we'd like you to go through them and make any recommendations for changes that you'd like to see in the policies between now and our next meeting so that we can take a vote on them. Please share those with Dr. Settles, who will share them with us. Any questions?
I just really appreciate the work that you two put in on this because it was a lot of work to go through, clarify, make suggested changes, so thank you.
Thank you. And last on our agenda, before we move into the item D, is it okay if I go through the future board calendar so we don't have to do that later? So on November 26th, there's no school and it's a staff trade day. They will have the PD Palooza or whatever you call it, which is great for the staff. I think it's fabulous that they get that opportunity. On November 27th and 28th, there's no school. The offices will be closed for the Thanksgiving holiday. And our next school board meeting will be on December 8th here at the Board of Education office. With that, we will be moving into closed session at the request of the Negotiations Committee to discuss the board priorities. I'll need a motion to move into closed session.
I'll make a motion to move into closed session for the protection of public interest while discussing employee negotiations.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Ms. Wood and a second by Mr. Madler to move into closed session. Roll call, please.
Mr. Madler,
Yes.
Ms. Witt,
Yes.
Ms. Wood,
Yes.
Mr. Bailey,
Yes.
Ms. Butler.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. So at this time, anyone in the room, we're going to ask you to step out. You may remain till we close, but otherwise, we need a few minutes to readjust, and then we'll come back into session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Colonel. Sergeant, thank you.